Sports and stuff. Well, we'll send you out, as I put sword preservation. That is not what I'm interested in. I want to build something. People that are doing that, like looking at the old buildings. I don't want it. That's like code review on steroids. Oh, that window is about a quarter-inch too big. It's like that level of detail sometimes. What are we doing here?
Huh?
Cool section.
I didn't hear you. We're just scuttling and we're just rebel routers.
So that's right. So see, I layered up. I got the little jacket and the big jackets in there. Oh, man. Welcome, everybody. Can we start out with an introduction from our interpreter?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea. I'm here with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to be practicing language justice today. We're going to have simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish so that we can hear in the language of our heart or how we feel more comfortable.
Oh, Devin.
Once we turn on the interpretation, please make sure that if you are on Zoom, you select your preferred language. You can select your language by clicking the globe that is going to come up at the bottom of your screen, or the three little dots or where it says more. Choose your language and then you'll be set. Please remember to speak at a conversational pace, especially in the chamber. And if there is any material in the package, let me know where to go. Hola a todos, soy Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a practicar la justicia del lenguaje el día de hoy y tendremos interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español para que podamos escuchar en el idioma de nuestro corazón. Una vez que aprendamos la interpretación, por favor, vayan al globo que va a aparecer en la parte inferior de su pantalla en Zoom o a los tres punticos donde dice más para seleccionar su idioma. And host, we can begin interpretation now.
Thank you, Andrea. All right, we're going to need to get on our meeting software since we have a Housing Authority meeting, if you haven't already. I'll call to order the work session for the Sheridan City Council for February 10th, 2025, and the time is 6:02 p.m. And our first item tonight is the Sheridan Housing Authority. So I will call to order the Housing Authority meeting at 6:02 p.m. We have all members present except for Member Kelly. I guess we'll have a roll call though too on here once you're all in. Yep. Get the roll call up if people are in. Thank you. Getting there. Okay. All right. Thank you. Now I got everybody official. Okay. We have first the minutes, the presentation and approval of the minutes for the Housing Authority. I have a motion from Board Member Stang and a second from Board Member Camacho. Any discussion on the minutes? Please cast your votes. Thank you. That passes unanimously. And then we have the financial report presentation and approval.
All right, well, good evening, everybody. For the financials, I'm going to have us all kind of flip to page 7. That's where December starts. And at this point, these are not audited or anything financials, but it's a pretty good picture of where we ended the year for 2024. So on page 7, that is the reflection of the balance for the general fund that we have, kind of like a quote unquote savings account. And that is still healthy, sitting there with $90,000. You'll see on page 8, we got about $2,800 in interest. So nothing phenomenal, but much better than nothing in terms of interest. And I believe we still have some of that money that is sitting in that $90,000 is still the Help for Homes. So you guys have to let me know when you want more. I think there's like $20,000 or $30,000 left. And then on page 9 is the balance sheet for the actual program. So the administration of the vouchers. And again, everything is looking okay. We've got a decent amount of operating cash. We've got the money that's sitting in escrow. That's for the folks in the FSS program that have not yet graduated. We're holding on to that cash for them. One of the things they do want to point out, which is unfortunate, but it gives us a little more cash for the program, is the tenant fraud. We are finding so much more fraud amongst program participants of folks not reporting their income accurately. So we can hold them accountable in a couple different ways. The main way we do it is by making them pay us back. And of the money that we recover from the misreporting of income, we get to keep half, and then half goes back to HUD. So it's an unfortunate thing, but it does give us a little more cash to operate the program. It's just crazy how much more we're seeing. We have this little Excel spreadsheet that used to have like 5 lines on it, and now it has like 30 and then a backside when you print it.
Wow.
And we're seeing it across both programs. And we don't necessarily know what's going on. We hypothesize people just are not reporting income changes because they want to keep more of their income. But as a program participant, they sign off and say, hey, when I have an income change, I'll report that. I have to report that. And they're just not. And we're finding it usually when we do their annual reviews and we're pulling the information we can pull from HUD that shows if they're working or not and kind of what they're making. And that's how we recover it. So bad, but good, because then we end up with a little extra cash for operating expenses. But overall, again, ending the year looking really good, having the cash flow that we need. One of the things we do need to do is we need to pay the Housing Authority for the management of the Sheridan program. You'll see we've got about $66,000, and we still owe about half of the year kind of back to ourselves. So we'll be paying that out relatively soon. And then you can see on page 10 is the income statement. Again, we earned a little bit of interest from the money that we have in the bank, but again, nothing kind of crazy. I did want to point out that we will see an increase in auditor fees for next year. I forgot to mention this in the program report, but it fits here well too. We've hired a new audit firm. We've used the company Hinkle for a long time. You've seen Timothy come and do those presentations for you. And we put out like an RFP for a new auditor. And we found a firm that has really significant housing authority experience. And we felt like for the growth that we're hoping to have in the next few years, that we wanted someone who kind of understood some of the HUD programs even more intimately than what Hinkle does. So that's going to be a little bit more expensive. It's also going to be a little bit later this year. We are saving a little bit of money on the expenses by having them start after April 15th. But that cost will go up, kind of going up next year. It was roughly $7,300 this past year. It'll be a little bit more. I think it's closer to $9,500. And then my favorite number to point out is on page 11. So again, these are unaudited numbers. They're going to change a little bit when they're audited. But in general, we did really good this year in increasing our revenue by leasing up some more vouchers and getting more admin fee and also having some fraud of that repay. And then we also decreased our operating expenses by just a little bit, but we ended up coming in about $15,000 kind of under budget for what we're going to be over. We're still over. We still spent $35,000 on the program that the program can't pay for itself, which is what we talk about all the time. That's okay.
Mhm.
But we were expecting to be 50. So I'm excited about the $15,000 that we saved.
Anything else? Is that it on the financial reports?
I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
What percentage of the total vouchers that are leased out are fraudulent?
That's a good question. I'll have to check for sure because we definitely have way more in Inglewood because the program's larger.
Mhm.
But I would say, what do we have leased up right now? Like about 100. And so the ones we have leased up, 132 are the ones we're actually managing ourselves. We've got the port outs and those are managed by the other housing authority.
Mhm.
I would say out of that 132, there's probably 15 in Sheridan. So it's not a high percentage, but it used to be 1 or 2. And I
Mhm.
feel like the housing techs are coming to me pretty often about ones they catch. And one of the things I didn't mention is if the amount they owe us after we do all the calculations is more than $5,000, that's actually considered a criminal activity.
Mm.
And so we don't turn them in, but we don't offer them the repayment plan and we actually terminate their voucher.
Mm.
But most of them are usually kind of under there, but we see people with owing us back 3,000, 4,000, and there's have been a couple over the 5,000 that we have terminated, or they can make automatic payments. And sometimes people bring in a check for a couple $1,000s and you're like, where'd you get that from? But it's just more than we've ever seen. I can get that exact percent for you next time though and let you know.
It's interesting to know.
It is, and it's disappointing to see, but again, I can sort of understand with the external factors that we have in our economy.
Mhm.
We just really stress to people like, don't do that though, because
Mhm.
when you get a pay increase, we only take that 30%, right? So we're taking
Right.
30 cents for every dollar, and you're still hanging on to your voucher. We think that's the most important thing for them, right?
Mhm.
But it's just not resonating with some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, because I mean, wages are going up pretty steeply to try to meet inflation, so
Right.
it makes sense.
And we are seeing more people working and having, full-time jobs, but they're just not reporting it to us.
Any other
And it's
questions?
not
Oh,
just
sorry.
Inglewood, Sheridan, we're seeing it across all the housing authorities.
Oh, okay. Other questions on the financial reports? Okay, got a motion from Board Member Moreno and a second from Board Member Whitaker. Please cast your votes. Thank you. That's approved unanimously. Next, we have the program reports.
Okay, for the program report, I will also kind of skip to December, and that is page 13. So we ended the year with 147 vouchers leased up, 137 here in Sheridan, 10 being porting out to other housing authorities. And that left us at 100% for year to date. And that's always kind of where we want to be, at least 100, if not a little bit over. So in terms of our budget spending, we did a good job this year with hitting kind of our nail on the head with what we wanted to spend.
Questions on the program reports?
Keep those 10 people for the duration because they signed up in Sheridan or?
Yeah, so they signed up in Sheridan and they lived in Sheridan. When they poured out, the housing authority they go to can either decide to absorb that voucher and make it their own or administer it. And the decision usually sits on the budget because if they absorb it, they pay for it. If they administer it, we pay for it. So those 10 were people living in Sheridan, I'm not exactly sure where all of them went, but that receiving housing authority said, hey, we don't have the money to pay for that. You need to pay us to administer this voucher. And that's what that means. So they're included in our budget, but we don't do their paperwork. So we don't do the recertifications or the interims. We just send cash over to that housing authority as the thank you for taking care of this. And I've mentioned this before, but we don't get a lot of people porting into Sheridan. So you don't see us administering vouchers from other places that come here. We do that in Inglewood, but usually Sheridan isn't a place that folks port into per se. We thought we'd see some with Bonsai and we didn't see really anything.
Any other questions? I've got a motion from Board Member Stang and a second from Board Member Moreno. Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Then we have the manager's report.
Okay, so talking about budgets again, one of the things we've decided to do to save money for both the Inglewood program and the Sheridan program is we have decided to do all of our inspections in-house. So kind of an estimate of what we would save in the Sheridan program by doing inspections in-house and not paying our contracted inspector to do it is about $5,000. So not a ton, but to me, every kind of dollar helps. And what we're doing is we're using our in-house maintenance team. We have a pretty robust and well-staffed maintenance team at this point. Let me knock on wood, because that's going to change the minute I say it. And so that team has agreed to do the inspections for us. And so that's any inspection that's biannual. We do for regular voucher holders that are in their place. We go every other year and look at their unit and make sure it's up to the housing quality standards. It's for new lease ups and then folks who move. So we were able to kind of estimate how much we think we're going to save. And so we've done that. We've given notice to our outside contractor. And so starting March 1st, we're going to do those inspections in-house. So we're experimenting. We're hoping it works, hoping the staff that does those inspections are still able to do the rest of their job okay. But HUD has signaled to us that budgets are going to be tight. And that we don't want to end up anywhere in shortfall where there's not enough money from HUD to run the program. So we are doing that kind of, tightening of the belt with both the programs. So our budgets will kind of pencil out better.
Are we going to see that reflected somewhere? Like, am I going to get a bill from Inglewood Housing when I get the
No.
bills, or is it just somewhere in the
So,
budget?
so what we do, and we don't really give you guys a bill for any of our services per se, right?
Yeah, but we used to for inspections, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so the way we do it now is, you get a fee for every voucher that we administer. And the whole Inglewood Housing Authority just basically takes every single one of those fees from every single voucher every month, and that's that management fee, right? And it's up to us to spend that management fee as judiciously as possible. So inspections is one of them. We were paying an outside inspector. It's and she just raised her prices. It went from, I think it's like $65 now for an inspection. If the person doesn't show up, it's another $65 for them to go out. If the inspection fails for any reason, it's another $65 for them to go out. So it can add up really quickly. So we're just going to use the money to pay our staff in-house. And the maintenance staff that's going to be doing this makes anywhere from like $20 to $30 an hour. So it's a bit of a cost savings, but no, you won't see a different bill. What we're hoping to see is that shrinkage between how much we spend on the program that's more than we have the budget for. So
Great.
I'll keep you guys updated on how that goes. In terms of issuing new vouchers this year, we're still not at a place where we feel comfortable issuing any new vouchers. Again, the tightening of that belt, kind of the warning from HUD. We didn't experience any issues from maybe we're not going to get paid like 2 weeks ago. We got paid, we got our LRHAP, everything was fine. But again, it was still a little bit of a panic that we might not get paid. So we're just being conservative right now with all the money. And not issuing any new vouchers anytime soon here. We're going to look at the 2-year tool that we use to estimate our budget versus our spending for the HAP dollars, and maybe April-ish when I see you guys next, we might issue vouchers, we might not. We're just trying to be more conservative because again, if we end up in shortfall and HUD doesn't have money to pay us back, we have to take it out of our savings account or we have to take vouchers back. And that's not a place we ever want to be at. So I'd rather not lease up right now than have to take anything back from someone. In terms of our Next Step 2 Gen grant, that's the grant with the school districts. We got good news about a month ago that they renewed that grant. They only renewed it for 1 year, but 1 year is better than 0 years. And they gave us exactly half. So it was a good budget renewal. We have what we need to continue the program for 1 more year. So we're just excited about that and continuing to work with both Inglewood and Sheridan. In the past quarter, we did, or I guess past 2 months, we did 3 new families from Sheridan got the money to either stay in their unit and not face eviction or lease up into a new unit. And then in terms of kind of our developments, we're still working with our architectural team to kind of bring some of the costs down. It was very interesting to come listen to the housing needs assessment presentation a few weeks ago. It kind of got my wheels turning a little bit, but we're still working through some of these things. It's just challenging to get everything kind of up and running, but we're working on it. And then I told you about the auditors that I forgot to leave on there, but
Yeah.
yes, new audit team, that's going to start later in April.
Any questions on the manager report?
I may be backing up to your previous report, but
That's
that
fine.
$5,000 that you're saving by having the inspections happen from the maintenance,
Yep, our in-house
Crews.
maintenance team, yeah,
is that $5,000 a month or a year?
a year. So not huge, but still,
Prudent.
yep, every little penny counts. And what I like our inspector, she was great, but it was really, what was really killing us with some of these no-show fees. And we are allowed to flip those back onto tenants to pay if they don't show up when we've scheduled an inspection, but then we have to go collect it.
Yeah.
And it's more time and more money to collect it, right? So at least when we're doing this in-house, we're not adding up all those extra charges. But again, we'll see. We're having like our lead maintenance gentleman dude who's been with the housing authority for about 20 years, really well versed in inspections, knows what he's doing. Kind of looking forward to transitioning a little bit. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
It'll be kind of interesting, I'm sure, to compare what kind of reports you're getting too between
Right.
someone who's been doing it for a while and some new eyes, right?
And we still will be using ourselves too for the quality control inspection. So I don't know if I've talked about this before, but HUD requires us to take a handful of inspections done every single month. It's usually anywhere from 2 to 4, it depends on how many inspections were done, to send somebody else out there to inspect the inspector. So it's good. We
Yeah.
sometimes find discrepancies, and then we have conversations with the inspector about why there was a discrepancy and kind of who's right and maybe what's the standard. We'll also be doing those in-house, but with another team member. So it can't be the same set of eyes. We've got a big enough team to have 2 separate sets of eyes.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, I've got a motion from Board Member Moreno and a second from Board Member Camacho. Please cast your votes. The motion is approved unanimously. And we have new business. We have resolution number 1, series of 2025, a resolution approving submission of HUD form 52648 CMAP certification.
In your packet, you will see basically pages 16 through 18, but I have 2 16 through 18s. No, okay. Starts on page 16. This is the quality control we do for the program every single year. Gosh, I can't even think what CMAP stands for. Section 8 Management Assessment Program. I think that's what it stands for. We actually thought we weren't going to have to do it this year because the CFR, the federal regulations say, hey, a small housing authority that has 250 units or less can do CMAP every other year. And we got high performer last year. So I was like, great, we don't have to do it. HUD came back to me and was like, no, that's true, but we have a schedule. And so there's only certain years you can skip. 2024 is not one of those years. So if we get high performer this year, which it sounds like we will based on the scores that we have from here, we can then skip 2025. It's fine. I did want to note though, I have one of the bubbles filled in wrong. For question 3, which looks like it's on the back of page 17, the PHA response should not be marked at least 90% of the samples filed. It should be marked the 80 to the 89%. That said, that'll take a few points off. So last year we got 100. We're not going to get 100 this year, but we should end up with a 95 and that'll still make us a high performer.
Great.
And this CMAP file review work is done by another consultant, which she's relatively inexpensive and worth every single dime because she does an independent review of our files against all of these questions to make sure our techs are doing things correctly. So it's, we don't have that capacity in-house being smaller. So having her do this work for us and make sure our CMAP scores are great is invaluable.
Any questions on
So
resolution 1?
on page 18, it looks like it's incomplete. Is that intentional?
Yes. So what I have is like a weird second page 18. So it starts kind of with question 14. Our family self-sufficiency program is voluntary. So all the like the A and the B and the C and the 14B don't apply. And then we don't qualify for the deconcentration bonus. So that's purposely blank.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or would people like to make a motion? I have a motion from Board Member Moreno and a second from Board Member Stang. Please cast your votes. The motion is approved unanimously. So I think we're done with this one. We can adjourn at 6:23 PM and return to our work session.
I'll just bring you the two things to sign.
Thank you. Right. Back to it. All right, we're talking about the South Metro Regional Waste Summit Review. You want to kick it off?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch base on this. This was a review that the mayor and I and Councilmember Whitaker attended, not last week, week before last, I guess it was.
I talked with Councilmember Kelly today and he went to one with you, right?
Did you go to the next night one? The Thursday night? Well, thank you. And I had completely forgot there was 2 nights. of it,
Yeah.
That's right. So, but I thought it was really interesting and I just want to, that review was 2 hours. We're not going to do 2 hours. I'm going to go through this in like 20 minutes and we're just going to pick out the highlights. And I wanted to just go over it because I think it's important that council kind of the full council understand where we are on this, what we're doing, because then there's going to be some additional information that's going to be brought later this summer to you as far as recommendations with reports and implementation strategies and all that kind of thing. So, okay, I'll just take off from there. And any of the council members that were there, and please feel free to jump in and fill in where I might miss something, but I'm going to go pretty quick. The first thing that I want to start with, though, is this memo that I handed out to everybody tonight, the hard copy. It says Front Range Waste Diversion Board at the top. This is just as a reminder, this is the MOU that we executed with Centennial, Inglewood, and Littleton, along with RRS, which is Resource Recycling Systems. This MOU spells out, everything that was going to be involved as far as RRS doing the waste diversion assessment on behalf of the cities. And if you'll remember, this is a program that we applied to with the other cities for a cost-free assessment by the Front Range Waste Diversion Division, in their division of CDPHE, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. So they have been working on this since last year. And in the MOU, if you go 1, 2, 3, it's the 4th page on the MOU itself. It gives you the scope or the project description there. And I'm just going to touch on this to remind everybody what we're doing. So this is a joint effort between Centennial, Inglewood, Sheridan, and Littleton, which they call the South Metro area in this. It comprises over 194,000 residents. So the project will assess the current materials management system conditions, collect baseline data, and develop strategies for improved waste management, right? Our trash. The expected result of the study would be data-driven waste and recycling assessment that includes an action plan of strategic initiatives for improving both the individual cities and the region's waste diversion rates, all right? And some of the things that they were looking at in the scope of this analysis would include a baseline assessment, a gap analysis, recent resident surveys, stakeholder engagement, recommendations, and an implementation plan. So they're going to have an action plan that comes out of there that will show how we can achieve waste reduction goals for both each city and the collection of the South Metro area. Include an evaluation of potential infrastructure needs and other opportunities that could lead to further infrastructure investment. The rest of the memo kind of spells out the work plan, and it's broken out into primary activities. As you can see, we've kind of gone through 1 through 9 about right now on here. So that includes, baseline assessment, waste hauler interviews and information, resident survey, community engagement, modeling waste generation, gap and opportunities assessment. And then now they just completed hosting on primary activity number 9, hosting the Regional Waste Summit. And then you can see there's still a few activities that are left to go, which will include putting together an action plan, the waste characterization study, strategies and action plan, and then all the reports that they're going to generate. So those aspects of the project are still forthcoming, and I think we anticipate those in summer, late summer of this year or so. Okay. Now, in your packet, you will have the slide deck that was presented at the meeting, and it starts with this slide, and we have it up here. Thank you, Reagan. And I'm gonna just we're gonna rip through this, and I'm gonna do some highlights on here, and then see if we have any questions about here. So why don't we go one? Just keep going here for a minute. Go, 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 go. Stop. Nope. Go. 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 Okay, right there. Okay. A lot of the impetus for why we're doing this and some of the things that we're looking at hopefully to accomplish in the future are being driven by Colorado's extended producer responsibility law. So this came around in 2022. But basically it was passed by the state legislature, and you can see it on that second bullet point. It requires companies that sell packaging and paper products to fund a statewide recycling system starting in 2026. So they'll pay annual dues and then a fee based on volume of packaging that they sell. The idea behind this is to generate a fund that will cover the costs of recycling statewide. So everybody's supposed to get free recycling out of this effort, okay? So remember that, the EPR law, that's what that is, and that's how it's going to be generating funding for recycling needs statewide. So, you know, one of the reasons that we wanted to do this is to identify, okay, what are our recycling needs going to be? You know, we don't really know what we don't know on this. So that's why we brought in I always forget the RRS.
Yeah.
And then agreed to partner with our other municipalities to look at it and go, okay, what are we going to need? What can we use these funds for? Go to the next one there, Reagan, please. Okay. So this is just real quick, shows you some of the things that we anticipate that the law will be able to get. The two biggies I already said: provide free recycling for all Coloradoans. And then the fourth one on there says save local governments money by reimbursing their costs to run recycling programs. We run a great recycling program here in Sheridan. We're kind of leaps and bounds above some of our competitors or some of our fellow citizens, or cities, I should say. But we can, this would be fantastic to be able to look at, all right, how do we kind of maybe reimburse ourselves or look at expanding the program to do even more for our citizens without raising any of their costs. So that's why I'm excited about this. I think this is going to be really cool for Sheridan. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that as we go. Okay, next one. Next one. Okay, our demographics. You know, we're familiar with a lot of this stuff and how we compare to the other cities around here. Some of the biggie takeaways I have on this is our multifamily population is significantly higher than a lot of our surrounding areas. And that presents particular types of challenges when it comes to recycling multifamily, right? So something for us to be aware of, that we have that high percentage and we need to maybe looking at focusing, all right, what are some of the policies and strategies we can look at for helping our folks that are in multifamily residences to recycle. Next one. All right, baseline assessment. So they wanted to look at, okay, what is our baseline? What are we looking at when we look at the picture? What does the picture look for the South Metro area? So 97% of South Metro residents are offered trash and recycling service, but only 3% have pay-as-you-throw. That's us. That's us. We're the only ones that have it. Infrastructure, one of the biggies to take away, there is not a recycling drop-off center. There's not a MRF or something like that, which a lot of communities around the state have, and which I think a lot of or I shouldn't say a lot, but it was a topic of interest in the communities, I think, that were sitting around the table, at least when I was there, and seeing if that might be something that we want to look at.
That's another hurdle for multifamily because they
Yeah.
can't like choose to keep their own recyclables separate and go take them somewhere.
Right,
There's
Right.
nowhere to take them.
exactly. We're only us and share in Inglewood, even license our waste haulers, so even know kind of who's operating and how many trucks they have and all that kind of stuff that's operating in their municipalities. And engagement, we could all do better jobs on engagement, that's for sure. Everybody kind of has varying different efforts along that line. But you know, also on the baseline there, a 15% recycling rate is not all that great. So we need to improve on that 15% recycling rate. Next slide. So they talked to haulers. What are haulers hearing? What are they hearing from haulers? Some of the takeaways I had from that are those quotes over on the right side. We need to improve education around recycling. That was, to me, one of the big takeaways. And we'll talk about that a little bit more further on in here, or the next item. Combat the distrust of recycling industry. I didn't think that was going to be as high, but there's a lot of distrust out there when they were talking to folks and saying, we don't try, we think they're picking up, but we don't think they're recycling it. We don't believe that this is getting recycled. And so it's hard to convince somebody to go and recycle if they don't think that they're really recycling it. And that's higher out there. That's a more prevalent opinion than I thought we were going to have. And it's out there. So we need to fight that, and you fight that through education, right? Okay, next one. They did this, so they've done a lot of community engagement, website surveys, and the focus groups. They met with multifamily community residents, businesses, and disadvantaged communities. And we'll talk about that a little bit more on here as well. Next slide. Next slide. I don't know that I have anything in that. We did some like individual polling when we were with the members that were there. I don't know if this is for both nights or the night just we were there. I'm not sure. I think it was probably for both nights. But what are some of the challenges out there? And this one just will mention it because it's hard to know what to recycle. And we can speak to that here. When we work with Republic and we put out the little reminders like once a year, okay, here's what you can recycle, here's what you do. Oh, do you remember it's free and all this kind of thing. All of a sudden we see a spike in recycling go up, and then it kind of trails down. And then we'll do a little reminder, oh, remember you can recycle that, and it spikes up and it goes down like that. Part of that is driven here in Sheridan is that we have a fairly high transient population, almost 50% of our folks, right? It was high 50% of folks live in multi-family housing, and they tend to cycle around and it cycles through there. So we educate them and they move away, right? So it's a challenge, and it's not just for us, but it's a challenge for everybody. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. So what are the residents saying when they were interviewed about or surveyed about challenges of recycling? The top two ones, low trust that recycling is truly recycled. And number two was it's hard to know what to recycle. That's followed by cost after that one. Okay. But that was really, you look at those two things, low trust and hard to know what to recycle. That's education. And those are the two of the biggest. And education's, that's a low hurdle, I think. That's something we can do. And like I said, we see it here. We put out the information and we see that it happened, but we need to be able to be doing it more frequently. Next slide. Excuse me. Grab some key survey takeaways. That low trust is huge. You can see it right there. So low trust that things are people actually doing what you say when you say recycling. Let's see, a lot of respondents on that said they have a recycling bin at home and they recycle, but we're not seeing the numbers on that necessarily. Another one is that they would like to see more yard and food waste as far as composting there, and with an emphasis on food waste reduction. So that, I think we talk about that a little bit further on. I'll get to that in a minute. Go ahead and next slide. The focus group key takeaways. So for businesses, it was a lack of access and space and dumpster capacity. And we'll talk about maybe a strategy for helping out with that here in a second. Businesses, again, lack of access for their decision makers. So there was maybe some political difficulties there for those folks, just internal
I think
politics
it's
as
like
far
if
as
the
getting
decision
access.
makers here aren't the ones who make the decisions. You know,
Right.
like the manager at the store can't choose to just offer recycling.
Right.
It's got to come from corporate or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then disadvantaged communities, lack of available, reliable resources and cost is a barrier, but you'll see that isn't for us.
Mhm.
Next slide. Now they did I thought that was interesting, with a waste characterization study. You can see pictures of, they went out there and went through the waste, hand picked through the waste at the facilities, the waste facilities themselves. You see they sorted over 10,000 pounds of trash and recycling. Next slide. So what's in the residential trash? You can look at that. Organics is huge,
Mhm.
right? The almost 50%, almost half of it is organics. And that's food waste, yard waste, other kinds of organics. Next slide. So I think this is just showing the same kind of thing. Yard debris, the top two things that's in residential trash is yard debris and food scraps.
Mhm.
Those are the top two, 24 and 19%. Okay, next slide. What's in commercial trash? It's a little bit more diversified,
Mhm.
right? Organics is still almost a quarter of the percent, recyclables, and then other, it's just kind of a wider spectrum of what you'll find in the commercial trash. Next slide. However, the bottom line across all sectors is that 78% of what's disposed in the trash can be potentially recovered or recoverable in our current programs. So 78% can be diverted if we just, have the right emphasis on that. Okay, go ahead. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Let's see, did I have anything on here? No, next slide. Next slide. So they've done it, they did as part of this, looking at where are the gaps, and then we get some grades that'll be coming up on here. So they did assessments of our collection and access to recycling, processing and facilities engagement, policy and end markets, and we get a grade for each of those. Next slide. So waste collection options. We get a C- overall on those. A lot of this stuff though is available here in Sheridan, just to point out. That's maybe not in other municipalities. But yard waste service is a big gap. And as you get, when you saw how much the level of organics that was going into that. So yard waste and how do we deal with that? Is right there. Yard waste and food waste, obviously recycling, drop off, and then access for commercial and multifamily. Those are some really big key missing pieces that we're looking at there. You can see some of the grades that we get on some of those categories. Next one. Infrastructure, a little bit better. That's because we do well in certain categories here in the South Metro area and in Colorado in general here. We have a little bit more infrastructure that's available for people to take advantage of. Here we've got actually organics processing with A1 Organics right here in Sheridan, which is helpful. Although, like some places like where are we missing hard to recycle stuff, that can include electronics, hazardous materials, other things along those paints, things like that. That can be some difficult. We don't have as much of a capacity infrastructure to handle that. And then deconstruction, which is basically construction and demo work, right? We have quite a bit of that and not a lot of opportunity, not a lot of areas for, or the infrastructure to help with diverting that from landfills. Go ahead, next slide. Organics, I mentioned that one with some of that. Next slide. Okay, end markets gets a C plus. We do some things well here, like glass. I didn't know this, but we have some facilities here for recycling glass that a lot of other states, areas of the state don't. So we are actually pretty well set up on glass and plastics and scrap metal. But you can see some of the other things that we don't have, some reuse markets, textiles, as I mentioned, construction and demo. So that's basically your construction waste and what to be able to do with that. So there are some areas with the markets that we can still work on as well. Compost being one of the biggies there, and how do we facilitate that market, that compost market. Next slide. Policy areas where are one of the areas where we shine in comparison to other municipalities in the South Metro area. We have, if you look over those key gaps that were identified, hauler licensing ordinance, we have that. Pay as you throw, we're the only ones that have that down here. Organized hauler contract, we have that. What we don't have, and one of the gaps, was an equal space ordinance. And this is fairly low hanging fruit. And Mayor and I talked about this. Whereas you can require new commercial buildings to designate an equal amount of space for recycling bins compared to trash bins. So right now, we require that when we go through a commercial development, and we're looking at that. Now, Ari's reviewing their plans. He's making sure that they've got enough commercial dumpster space and that they're screening it and it's well located and all those kind of things like that. But we don't have anything that requires and says you have to supply that's same level of space for recycling, or at least equal type of space for recycling. And that's some low, that again, it might be some low hanging fruit that we can look at doing here. Okay, next slide. Well, we have that already. Next slide. We have that already. Next slide. Okay, this is probably the last one we want to look at, but here's another place where we really shine is cost. So this just shows you, and it's a little hard to see on this. I don't necessarily like this graph. But what it does show is that Sheridan over there on the right with the very tall red column there, that's the, if someone get to where I can see it, $11 to $20 a month. So a very affordable rate. And you see, we're the only ones that are that high and showing that kind of usage up at that price point across the South Metro area there. Everybody else, I mean, basically, like I said, I don't like this graph, but the takeaway is that everybody's much more expensive than we are on our trash service. And that goes to show the benefit of our single hauler pay as you throw contract with Republic Services that we've had. It has kept the cost down significantly over the course of time that we've had that in place. So that was really nice. I mean, I knew that intuitively, and I knew it from also examples I've seen other. It was really nice to see a full-blown study go out and say, yep, you guys, you know, through your contract have kept costs down considerably for your residents here. So that was really nice to see that there. I'm gonna like take this thing and frame it and put it in my office so we can. Next slide. Next slide. All right, education, C minus. I agree on that. What can we look at doing? We can look at doing more in increasing our community group engagement, developing universal and accessible guidelines in the state. I know they're working on this and putting together what kind of recycling guidelines. What does that look like? So everybody's talking, when we go out and do education on recycling, we're all talking the same thing. We're all using the same language. We're all using the same pictures. We're all doing, you know, all the same guidelines to help that be universal. Multifamily complexes, how can we do outreach and training for folks that want to be able to do there? Because it can absolutely be more challenging for those folks living in multifamily complexes. And then just more recycling information, visibility, access, all those kind of things that go along with that. So we do some here in Sheridan, and we can do more here. I think next slide. Next slide. Next slide. They just went through a lot of this was, what do they see as top priorities then, after we'd seen this presentation? You can see, kind of see the top ones right there at the very top, food waste and yard waste, composting. That seems like some high impact potential there. If we're doing some programs there and having a significant impact on what we divert from the landfills. Next slide. Same kind of thing right there. Regionally, you're seeing yard waste, recycling drop-off centers, commercial family, or multifamily access, lots more engagement and education to have on there, especially in the multifamily area there at the bottom, you can see. Next slide. Food waste, composting, obviously, again, seeing what are some things that we want to look at for our cities. Next slide. More of the same we're talking about. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. All right, so here is kind of where we are. It's a little hard to see on this one. I think it's in your packet so you can see it a little bit better. But we are basically, like I said, activity 9, and then moving into activities 10, 11, and 12. So we're looking at final waste plan coming to us in May, June timeframe, final project report to CDPHE in August. So that's our time frame that we're looking at right now. So I just thought it was while it was fresh in my mind and maybe some of your minds that attended, and just bring the council up to speed on that, so that when we see this stuff coming forward here in the reports, we'll have a good context for what is going on with that and what's going on in Sheridan, and give you some time to think about, we're going to be able to have some opportunities to help offset some of our costs of our current program. What do we want to do with that? How do we want to take advantage of that? And we have a little bit of information here to work off of. So start thinking about those things. What can we do to help improve our program and make it, even more useful or more cost effective, or all those kind of things for our citizens here. And then I'd welcome, Mayor,
Yeah,
your
I'd love to
comments.
talk through
yeah.
the things I kind of took away. I think some of them are maybe more hand in hand as we go through the regional process, but some of them seem like we could kind of start on our own and not even have to wait for this to finish, because there's so much useful information they gave this year. But yeah, I agree with you on, the ordinance for equal space for recycling being a really easy thing that we could do that would hopefully encourage more of that with multifamily. And then I'm wondering, and this is like where we might open discussion with Republic, like what can we do with them as far as, if that, I don't even know if anybody knows exactly how the funding is going to work from the EPR, but, if we get those funds, could we, offset the cost of composting, or, I don't know how much money it's going to be. So could it eliminate the cost to our customers? We don't really know,
Right.
where we're going to be at, but like, what do those costs look like? I think we've asked that before, and it was like at the time more than we thought people in Sheridan could handle, but
Yeah, and so Republic has modeled that for us in the past, over the past 10 years or so. They model every once in a while, and it has a significant impact on price.
Yeah.
And our customers here, our trash customers, are very price sensitive. And has been the primary reason that we've had the support for the program, has been that cost control.
Right.
And we've seen that realized. The good thing is that the service is there and it's available as part of our contract. So our system now, you can get composting, you can get yard waste, you can get all that done. You just have to pay extra for it, right? But it's all available there, curbside, and so it'll be really fairly straightforward to be able to say, okay, if we get in this much money, what does that look like, and how can we potentially offset those costs? The other question is, all right, if we do it, will people use it? Right? Because we see recycling is, I think ours, out of that overall 15%, we have a higher rate here in Sheridan, just because it's free for our citizens. And we do recycle at a little higher rate than some of our neighbors do.
Yeah.
It gets better when, like I said, when we go out and we do the postcards and we push it and say, hey, don't forget, right? And then we see that spike and gets better, and then it does trail off.
The other thing I thought we could discuss with them is, like I said to you, I don't think when they do their travels, you know, seasonally to pick up leaves and all that, I don't think those are going to compost. But that'd be something to ask them and
You
just,
know,
can we
that's a
switch
good-
it out? You know,
that's a
can we
great
switch it so it goes
question,
to
Mary.
compost instead of
Yeah,
just
I don't
to
know the
landfill,
answer to that off the
you know?
top of my head, if they
Mhm.
do compost that or not, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
because I'm sure that's
Mhm.
a pretty big
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if there was, I don't know if anybody else had attended, if they had any thoughts or takeaways on that. Jay?
There was some discussion about the city itself using more compostable materials in its landscaping.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too, with Ready to Work, since we're
Yeah,
having
is
them do
that,
the bus stops, maybe see if they need it, or I don't know where they're sourcing theirs from, but
Mhm.
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 and South Suburban, you know.
Yeah, I think there's some
Oh,
opportunities there for sure.
Mhm.
Yep,
Mm.
absolutely, absolutely.
Then on this, on the page, I don't know if it's 45 or 69, but it talks about education and the key gaps in educating the public. Michael Moreno and I, along with Jean, are trying to incorporate something into our spring event that will have this education piece to it.
Okay,
Mhm.
So if anybody has any ideas, I'd be happy to receive any emails about like what we can do to educate the public, what we can do for activities.
is this
to make-
around like recycling, Jay?
Yeah,
Okay,
recycling, composting, waste diversion.
okay.
I think she said she's been in touch with Mark, but he's got somebody new.
That was gonna be
Right,
my
I
suggestion,
think.
was get in touch with
That's what
Mark.
Jean had said to me, was that I think maybe Mark is transitioning some of his responsibilities, or,
He is, and I meet with
something,
their
yeah.
new person this week.
Okay.
I don't think, Mark will still kind of be, I think he's kind of getting a promotion, so he's gonna
Mhm.
go up a little bit higher there.
Yeah.
He'll still be available to us,
Mhm.
but we'll have a more direct contact, I think, coming
Yeah.
here
I'm
shortly.
sure they have, what do I want to say, materials?
They,
or-
they
yeah.
have had, you know, they kind of have some standard
Mm-hmm.
stuff I know that they put aside, and would maybe, that'd be good that Gene contacts them and say, hey, this is what we're looking, do you have these
list
types of
things.
materials that they can supply for us? Because they're required under our contract to help the city with education efforts and
Mhm.
doing a certain amount of education
Yeah.
each year.
Who's Mark?
Mark Petrovich
From
is
Republic.
our main contact with Republic Services. But like I said, he's gonna be, I think he'll still be around, but we'll have a new direct contact, and his name is Steve something, and I can't remember it off the top of my head because I haven't met him yet. That's just happening this week. But Gene can still get a hold of Mark, and they know each other.
Mhm.
They've talked before, and so they can chat, and he can point her in the right direction.
Good.
Well, that was my list. Did you have anything you from attending that came to your mind?
The only thing that, because they had mentioned about the multifamily not, like being more the ones that don't recycle.
Mhm.
And, I don't know, in my mind, I was just thinking of a lot of the multifamilies don't think about it much, I think, because it's a lot to have kids and their kids don't know, like, there's just a lot of
Well, and there's no,
things that
it's
go
not
into it.
convenient until you have
Right,
the actual
right. And then they're in
infrastructure. You have the
apartments
bins
too.
and the
Yeah.
dumpster and all that. You've got to have all that available.
I just feel like incentives are always good too,
Mhm.
you know, for
Yeah.
people.
Didn't we have you had asked a question about like, what is the law that's keeping us from being able to serve some of these other places, right?
Yeah,
With
so
our
you guys know,
contracts?
when we put our single hauler trash
Mhm.
contract together, under state law, you can only mandate single family residential units participate in that. You cannot, and multifamily units of 7 units or less.
Mhm.
So when you get to multifamily units of 8 units and up, you cannot mandate that they participate in your program, your
Mhm.
single vendor program, right? And that's state law.
Mhm.
And you can't, so I don't know that, and that was kind of my question, has that ever been considered to change that or do that and mandate? You'd still have a lot of the same issues because there's still a lot of the same barriers for people that live in multifamily. You know, it's just not as easy as if you got curbside bin sitting right there, right? You can just toss it all in. It's not the same. So you'd still have a lot of the same challenges, even if you mandated that they begin participating in the trash. But yeah, that there are some other challenges like at the state policy level that can,
Well, maybe that's something that'll come out of this action plan is, whether it makes more sense to direct dollars toward like composting or should we focus on like multifamily and see if we
Yeah.
can give them some sort of incentives or something, or
Yeah.
use that to offset their costs. you
and,
know?
and again, right, and that's where pay as you throw works, is
Mhm.
that you give them that incentive and you say, look, if you recycle this amount, you can go from that 96 gallon down to a 64 gallon, and
Right.
you're saving yourselves, $15 a month or whatever
Mhm.
it is, as far as that, or, so that's where that incentive on that piece that we have works as well.
Great.
Um,
Anything else, Jay, that you had on your
No.
notes? No?
No, I'm looking forward to coming up with
Yeah.
some way to make it interesting for people to learn about composting and recycling.
Yeah. Well, and I think some of the things we can do with the South Metro cities as our partners is some really large scale education projects or
Mhm.
programs and things like that. And that'll help push the needle here and everywhere.
Well, I thought it was a really good session, so I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to what else they come up with and
Yep.
really definitely sparked some ideas,
Were there grades for each individual city?
No,
Mhm.
not that I've seen.
They probably have that data, but they didn't share it by city.
Mel, when you talk to Mel, she's like, you guys are the all-stars when it comes to it, because just because of our, our trash contract and doing all the things that we do, and a lot of several folks in the city would love to be able to do the same thing, and they're not able to.
I just thought it might be helpful for us to see where our individual deficiencies are.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I mean, other than cost comparison directly that they did, I don't know that they
I'm not sure.
really,
Some of them are more regional, right? Like
yeah,
the locations of centers and things, but then I guess some of it would be more specific, because I know like they looked at each city's website and said, do you have information on your website? That would be very
yeah,
city specific,
yeah. Yeah, it was that.
Mhm. So I'm not
And I
sure if
think
they
there
could
was some
split
other
everything.
questions. I think
Yeah.
some of that kind of came up. I'm
Mhm.
trying to think back to
Mhm.
some of the discussion, and there were some questions around like specific numbers for cities, and they said, we can maybe look at doing that, but they haven't provided that at this point right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we're a little bit over, so I guess we'll adjourn unless you want to, will we talk about each item as we get to it instead? City manager? As we get to items in the agenda tonight, you just want to do an introduction instead of, since we don't ran out of time for the review of the agenda items?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, so we'll adjourn this meeting at 7:01 PM. And we'll move into our regular city council
Siguiente
meeting.
reunión.
Go ahead with the new introduction, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Andrea with the Community Language Cooperative. We're going to practice language justice today. We're going to have simultaneous interpretation in English and in Spanish. Once we turn on the interpretation, if you are on Zoom, you're going to see a globe that is going to come up at the bottom of your screen. Please click that globe and select your preferred language. Hola a todos, soy Andrea, estoy aquí con la Community Language Cooperative. Vamos a estar practicando la justicia del lenguaje el día de hoy y tendremos interpretación simultánea en inglés y en español. Una vez que prendamos la interpretación, ve al globo que va a aparecer en la parte inferior de tu pantalla o a los 3 punticos donde dice más y selecciona tu idioma preferido. We can start interpretation now.
Yeah. I'll call to order this meeting, regular meeting of the Sheridan City Council for February 10th, 2025. Time is 7:02 PM. And we can have roll call. We have all members present except for Councilmember Kelly. Can we please rise for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance?
God of wisdom, we seek your help today. Come and let your wisdom fall upon us, O Lord, as we gather for this meeting. Give us clarity so that we can effectively tackle each part of today's agenda. Reveal problem areas and show us the best solutions that will apply. Point our eyes to every positive outcome since our last meeting, and let these favorable results and developments encourage every heart in this room. Dear God, help us apply your wisdom as we decide on certain matters and make plans. This we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Pledge
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I jumped right over excusing Councilmember Kelly's absence. Reagan, do you want me, can you put that in, or do you want me to do a voice vote? Here. Okay. Can I get a motion to excuse Councilmember Kelly's absence tonight? He had some family obligations.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Councilmember Kelly this evening.
I'll second.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second from Councilmember Stang. Can we get a voice vote?
Yes, Councilmember Moreno,
Yes.
council members, sorry, Mayor Bider-Fluor, that was,
Yes.
Councilmember Lopez
Yes.
and Councilmember Camacho. Yes, that passes unanimously.
Miss Desiree, I think.
She's the one who,
Oh, I see. You're counting the motion and the second.
I'm sorry, yeah, I counted both. That's my fault.
All right, the motion is passed.
That was my fault.
Thank you. We have to throw something at Reagan since he's substituting tonight, just so it's not too boring over there.
Keep me on my toes.
All right, do we have any other changes to the agenda tonight besides this one I threw at you? No. All right. Okay, next we have staff reports. Do you have anything to share with us, City Clerk?
Good evening. I'm actually going to take
Ah.
the report. So my apologies for not being there. I've got a sick kiddo at home. But thanks to Michaela and Reagan for stepping up and filling in for me tonight. I just have one thing. We have finalized a date for Randy's retirement party. So mark your calendars for Wednesday, February 26th at 5:00 p.m. at Broken Tea.
Thank you.
You have invitations in your mailboxes. And that's all I have tonight.
City Attorney, do you have anything for us?
Good evening, Mayor. Nothing to report. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. Reminder, we have Can Do this Friday. Let's see, our city attorney request for proposals is out and posted and getting a good response at this point. So looking forward to that process. I had my standing meeting that I set up with the folks from Sheridan Rising Together Equity with Lisa Lopez and Nellie Lyman. And we talked about a number of different things. We talked about the Citizens Academy that the chief's going to talk about here shortly. We talked about Planning and Zoning Commission vacancies, and this is a good reminder, everybody, we're going to have, throughout the course of this year, we're going to have 3 vacancies that need filling on PSE. Thea Hutchison just is going to be moving out of the city, so she notified us she's not going to be able to keep her seat. So we're going to have a few vacancies that we need to fill, and so talked with Sheridan Rising about getting the word out through their group and helping with that. We talked about helping them with home-based business licensing. So a number of the skills programs that Sheridan Rising is working on is talking about various opportunities for home-based businesses, and then how do they work with the city on getting those folks licensed for their home-based business. So we talked about that. And then also, how do we help Sheridan Rising with looking at just business outreach in general, and how do they start to begin to engage our business community? Where it's been more with kind of engagement with the city and the schools and residents, but not so much with the business community, and how can we help them with that? So we talked about that a little. I think that's it, Mayor. Everything else has been discussed right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Chief.
Couple things tonight, Mayor. First, before we get into the Citizens Academy, I wanted to talk about some positive work that our officers did after a tragedy that we all know hit too close to us here in Sheridan. So we had a overlap operation, which is on Wednesdays, we have officers, sometimes they overlap, that's their common day. Sometimes they're taking their day off, they're taking their holidays off, other times, sometimes we have an overlap. So we had an overlap and they wanted to concentrate on any type of drug use, drug sales, anything like that. So we had 2 sergeants, 5 officers, and the K-9 out. And in that 10-hour shift, they were able to get 8 separate arrests. 3 of them were for PCS, which is possession of controlled substances, 2 drug paraphernalias, a person that was wanted for a drug offense that was wanted on a warrant, another one that was wanted on a warrant for drug possession, and 1 trespass. During that operation, they also recovered 99 fentanyl pills from the different people that they arrested. So it was really positive. Their hearts were really in it. They really wanted to make an impact. We can't always do that. We don't always have that big of a problem here, but they went to problem spots that we know where there's been some issues in the past, and they really concentrated on that, trying to let the city know that we really care about this, and it was a big deal for us. So just wanted to update you on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it sounds like you don't have the staffing all the time, but it was very successful. So maybe you consider doing it again if it was that successful, or
Absolutely. We sometimes will concentrate on different things, but we definitely wanted to concentrate on that. We usually get them sometimes once a month that we can have those overlap days. So we'll continue to do operation plans. And Lieutenant Bryce Jackson, who has an extensive experience in dealing with drugs and some of the teams that he was on in the past, he was the one that led that up and helped lead our officers to that success.
great, thank you.
I'm going to put up, if we can, Kayla, if we could put up the Citizens Academy. So we have a Citizens Academy that's coming up. It is going to be on Tuesdays. It's going to be 3 Tuesdays in a row, starting with February 18th, and then February 25th and March 4th. It's going to be from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And this is primarily a Spanish-speaking Citizens Academy. Anyone is,
Can I hand that out to him?
sure you
That
can. I'm
flyer?
sorry.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
no worries.
So primarily Spanish speaking, because that's the attendees that we have. And right now with everything that's going on, we feel that it's very important. So we did partner with Lisa, as Devin, as the city manager was just talking about. So they're very interested in this. So it's going to be very timely, and hopefully we'll have a good turnout. As you remember, we had a young lady who was getting her master's degree, and she did a thesis on our Citizens Academy to see if we had success, if there was actual documented success, which she said we did. And using some of the numbers that we had from an earlier presentation, as you can see, when we were talking about the waste summit that you all had, 41% of our Sheridan residents are Hispanic or Latino or identify as that, and 31.7 speak a language other than English. So again, Spanish speaking is the primary attendees. Anyone's welcome, and we will have interpreters that will be there. But as we go through this, I'm just going to go quickly on what we're going to do. So if you'll through it quickly with me, Caleb, but we'll start out with just the history of the Sheridan Police Department, a little bit about how we developed and how we came about. We also have officer testimonials. What those are is basically the officers introduce themselves, tell them a little bit about themselves, and a little bit about our backgrounds, and just try to let them see us as people. The next thing that we'll do is we're going to talk about immigration concerns. Of course, right now that's a huge issue in a lot of our communities. We want to let them know, of course, that we are not here to enforce any type of immigration, that we are here for policing and to keep them safe, and that we want to encourage them to call, and don't be afraid to call us. Nothing has changed on that front for us. The next page just talks about the academy schedule. And again, I'm going to go through this, so I won't spend too much time there. But another thing that we'll cover is our uniform and our equipment, why we carry such, different parts of our equipment, everything from body-worn camera to our guns, our handcuffs, all those types of things. And what we'll do also is we'll take in some of our equipment, make it safe, of course, and let them try on like a belt and see what, how heavy it is, et cetera, and kind of explain how all of that works. So then we're going to have a breakout activity, because what we'd like to learn from them is what comes to their mind when they hear the word police, and then ask them why, and then try to break down some of the myths or some of the things and some of the reasons that they have those problems or those concerns, and see if we can start building some bridges that way. We end that night with some question and answers. And then we also go to the next time they come back, we talk about domestic violence. That's a big thing that we always want to be concerned about. We don't want people to turn the other cheeks, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but that we want them to call us when there's any type of domestic violence. It doesn't have to get serious. We can tell them sometimes we go out and we just talk to people. But if there's a crime that's committed, that we do have mandatory arrest, and let them know that we are here to help them with that. The next thing we'll talk about are some of the victim services and the VRA crimes, to tell them about some of the assistance that we offer on any type of VRA crime. But as Sheridan does with everything, we do a lot more than just the VRA crimes, because we want to help them with all the different issues that they come up. So we'll talk about some of that. And then we also talk about accident and traffic stops, because we want to improve that and let them know when you get pulled over, this is what we expect of you, and this is the way to have the best encounter with the police officers, and let them know what the police officers are doing, why we're doing it, and hopefully give them some education on that. We also then go on to drug recognition. This is something that's important to a lot of the families that live there, especially if they have children or people of younger age, that they're wondering, do they have drugs? Are they different things? And then, so we just talk about some of the drug recognition of some of the most common drugs. And then we also talk about something that's very important that our communities don't understand, which is the difference between criminal court and civil court, and let them know what our part is in the police, how we fall into the criminal court of things. But in civil court, we can tell them, how to proceed with that. We can't intervene, but we can give them some direction. So make sure they understand that as well. Then we go on and just talk about when to involve police, just several different topics that we'll talk about, and of course let them ask questions, give them non-emergency numbers on the next page. And then we always end with questions and a question and answer part. Most of this is designed around basically questions and answers. We want them to, we don't want to just stand up there and just give a presentation. We really want interaction, really want to help them understand what we do. So that'll end each day that we have. And then our third day that we come back together, it's a little bit shorter, but we talk about fraud and common scams to try and help them avoid some of those issues. We're going to talk about graffiti and gang activity, the difference in that. And sometimes people see graffiti and they almost always think it might be gang activity. We want to tell them that sometimes there's a different style, but the best thing is to remove it right away. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our SRO, our school resource officer. This says community resource officer, but I do need to make, this is just a draft right now, so we'll be making some changes. We'll talk about the school resource officer. That's a very important part for our community, because of course, most interaction that we have is sometimes with the children, and want them to understand how he works, what he does, and why he's there to help out. And then we end with some final questions, and then we will give them certificates for those who attended at least 2 out of the 3 days of the academy. So that's just a quick rundown. I'm open to any questions, comments, or concerns if you have any.
That looks great.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
In the part of your presentation where you're going to be talking about domestic violence, does what we have to decide tonight by removing
It's just that we goes directly to the county. We've been doing that for the last several years, just because we don't have the resources that we need here. So removing what we're removing in today's meeting is not going to affect that at all. Thank you.
Chief,
Yes.
how do people sign up for this? Do they just show up, or is there?
They just show up. We are trying to get, an approximate number of people are there, because one of the things that we do, the Sheridan Rising actually does, is they will feed everybody that goes, because they, as you can see, it starts basically right after most people's workday. So they have food. So we try to get an idea. I wouldn't be surprised if it starts out slow the first day. This has been what's happens usually, and especially today with all the things that we're hearing in the news. And the concerns that they have. They want to make sure that it's safe, that they can come and it's not some type of sting or something of that nature, which of course we would never do. But some people don't know and don't have the trust with us as of yet. Being that we're partnering with a great community partner, I believe that they are going to help understand that we are not involved in anything like that. But again, I still wouldn't be surprised if the first day is relatively low. But again, Councilman, you're welcome to come. If you want to let me know you're coming, that'd be great too.
I just didn't see any sign up or any way to,
The reason we don't do that, especially for this type of academy, is because oftentimes our Spanish-speaking community does not want to give us their names because they think that we might be doing research or history or seeing if they're legal or there's other issues that come along. So unless they're comfortable, we won't even make them a certificate with their full name on it. But usually by the third day, we have a lot more of their confidence in what we're doing, and they'll usually give us that. But in the beginning, we don't ask for anyone's names.
perfect.
Great. Anybody have any questions for any staff before we move on? Go ahead.
One more question.
Yes.
With regard to the clock, do you have any news in regards to the new clock?
I do have a date. It's March. Jeremiah, can you help me out? Do you remember the date?
I don't have.
Sometime in March.
It's somewhere like mid-March. They said that they are ready to come out and install it, that they finally received the part that they were waiting on. They've given us a date. I'm hoping that that date is going to be the correct date and they will be out here. It's been much longer than they told us it was going to be. I apologize for that, but I believe we're moving forward with that in mid-March.
How big's the diameter of that clock?
It is nearly 10 foot, I believe. If I remember the specs. It is going to be much larger than our clock that we have there now. It's going to take up the majority of the circle in there. There's going to be probably 6 inches all around that. It's not 6 to 9 inches, but it's going to be a very large clock, again, backlit with LED lights so that you can see it even at night. So
Yeah, you'll be able to, you know, right now, if you're sitting at the intersection, say out front here, you'd have to squint. At least I have to squint
Yeah.
to see, you know, what is it? You won't have to squint. You'll be able to see plain as day what time it is. Yeah.
There's a big smile on Wendy's face. She's like excited for that publicity at the new clock.
we are all excited, and city manager can tell you that I started including him on the emails because I wanted him to see I am working on this. We're trying our best to get it. So I'm kind of handing it over to Jeremiah and his crew now, since it's going to be the actual work. But I think it should be coming in mid-March. That is what we've been told. So thanks for asking.
Great.
It's a great update.
Anybody else? Thanks, Chief. Appreciate your update. And we'll move on to the minutes. Minutes of the regular city council meeting of January 27th, 2025. I have a motion from Councilmember Stang and a second from Councilmember Moreno. Anyone have any questions or discussion about the minutes? Please cast your votes. Motion is approved unanimously. And we have the consent agenda, approval of disbursements, authorized disbursements that have been or will be made from January 16th, 2025 to January 31st, 2025 in the amount of $775,128.64 per the referenced and attached transfer of funds. I have a motion from Councilmember Camacho and a second from Councilmember Moreno. Any questions or discussion on the disbursements? Please cast your votes. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have items for individual consideration. We have an ordinance on second reading, and comments from the public will be invited prior to consideration. It's Ordinance 1 of 2025. An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, repealing in its entirety Section 50-16 Domestic Violence of the Sheridan Municipal Code. And I have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second by Councilmember Stang. Anybody have any questions? We had an overview at the last meeting, I think, of what's included in this. Anything else you want to know about it before we vote?
Mayor, if I may, just to clarify, in case anybody in the audience or anybody listening out there is wondering, why are you getting rid of your domestic violence section in your municipal code? The reason is because we are not going to be prosecuting those offenses in our municipal court, and we are not staffed or equipped to process those types of cases to comply with several new regulations in state law that have come in over the past few years. So we put the city and potential victims at risk if we're not able to adequately address those types of offenses in our courts, in our system like that. We will still, we still respond and we still enforce, but we will not be prosecuting and processing those cases through our municipal courts or through our systems. Those will all go to district court where they're staffed and ready to be able to process those types of cases 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, which we are not.
Thank you. Thanks for that summary.
Mhm.
All right, before we have a vote on this, is there anyone who'd like to speak to council on ordinance number 1? See anyone here? Do you have anybody online? No. Okay, then let's vote. That motion is approved unanimously. Next, we have ordinances on first reading, none. We have resolutions, Resolution 6 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, approving the addendum to grant agreement between the City of Sheridan and the State Board of the Great Outdoors Colorado Trust Fund, and the third amendment to the agreement for grant administration services between the City of Sheridan and Groundwork Denver Incorporated. I have a motion from Councilmember Camacho and a second by Councilmember Whitaker. Any discussion or questions on resolution 6?
Mayor, I
Is there
think
anything-
Ari was just going to touch briefly
Okay,
on this
Thanks.
in case there's any questions.
Hello, hello. Okay, good evening. Thanks for having me. Just wanted to give a brief update of what's going on here. So to refresh everyone's memory, the city applied for our Inspire grant back in 2018, and then we've amended, and then Groundwork Denver acts as the administrator of all the nonprofits. So we've amended both agreements twice. Initially in 2021 to receive additional GOCO funds. The second amendment was last year, and that's when we allocated the Metropolitan Stadium District funds. And this amendment, there's been some strategic planning going on at the state board. And so there was like missing funds, and now there's more funds. And so to get us through the end of this year, while we work on our new application with the state, we just need to be in compliance with the state contract. So by passing the resolution, you amend the state contract, and then you amend the groundwork contract, which the state needs in order to allocate the new $300,000 that will get us to the end of this year while they consider our new application. So that's it. And if there are questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anyone have questions? Glad to hear we'll be going forward still.
Yes.
Another year.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Camacho, a second by Councilmember Whitaker. Guess we'll have a vote since nobody had questions. That motion is approved unanimously. And finally, we have Resolution 5 of 2025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sheridan, Colorado, approving an agreement between the City of Sheridan and CPS HR Consultants for review of HR processes and on-site HR consultants. You want to give any background on that one?
I'd be happy to, Mayor. So this is our annual contract that we execute with CPS HR. CPS HR serves as our HR department for the city. We have access to their entire company and their expertise that comes with numerous individuals that are located both here in Colorado, in California, in Chicago, and elsewhere. So they do a great job for us. We also have on in-office presence as well for folks here as well. So they do a great job for us with our HR needs. I believe we generally, gosh, I don't think Teresa's on tonight, but we generally budget between or incur costs, I should say, of around between maybe 100 and 120,000 a year for our HR services through this contract, and that is actually a really great deal. If you consider that would probably fund one person full-time, and we definitely have more work than one full-time person could do for us in-house. So I think this works out great for the city and for the staff. And for that reason, like I said, I enjoy working for them and recommend that we continue this relationship and this contract with CPSHR. And again, this is for a, this is not a fixed amount. It's a dollar amount. So we keep track of it on a monthly basis, how many hours would that, and I review that monthly on costs incurred through this contract.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, I have a motion from Councilmember Whitaker and a second from Councilmember Stang. Let's vote on it. That motion is approved unanimously. All right, next we have Mayor's Choice. I wanted to mention I was invited to a ribbon cutting for Remix Market, which is a new store over in the shopping center where Primal Axe, Strawberries Catering, between the theater and Steak and Shake. It's a secondhand store, and it's their business model is they haul junk, but then they take stuff out instead of sending it to the landfill. Speaking of things going to the landfill, and they sell the secondhand items in their store, or some of them, if they don't think they're going to be able to sell in their own store, they donate it to them to the ARC to resell. So I think it's a really cool business model. So go over there and check it out if you like secondhand stuff. I know I do. So it's a really nice new business. And then I wanted to mention for Sheridan Celebrates, we selected our charity partner for this year at our last meeting, and that's going to be Bridge House Ready to Work. So I'm excited to be able to raise money for Bridge House this year, some little extra to help them with their grand opening this year.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Anybody from council have anything they want to share?
I do.
Go ahead.
Regan, do you have those pictures lined up? All right. So in my neighborhood over the last month, we have developed a real problem along the north side of the Northgate Middle School of dog poop everywhere. And those, each of those red circles is only a portion of what's there. Once that snow melts in the snowy area, there's a ton more there. And this is where kids are walking by every day for school. It is ridiculous how just negligent people are being by leaving so much dog poop. You almost can't make it through that section without stepping on something. And I just don't know exactly who to go to, because if it was up to me, I'd buy some signs, pick up after your dog, and put them on the school fence there. But I think we probably have some, I can just do that to the school property. And so as I walk through this minefield daily on Mansfield along the north side of Northgate and heading into Sheridan Community Park, I saw some ways that they're doing it in the park that I hope we can incorporate. I just didn't know who to talk to. I'm kind of hoping for a little bit of guidance on this. Can you go to the next photo? So this is looking down that sidewalk toward Sheridan Community Park. And you can see it's a really long area along the school playground that I think this is where the railroad used to, or the rail lines used to go. But in this kind of area here between the sidewalk and the street, I'm hoping we can put something like the next slide. something like this, this waste bag station and a trash can or something. I just don't know what to do. It's gotten out of hand so fast that all the neighbors know about it. Nobody really knows exactly what to do. But I'm just hoping I can, I don't know, get the okay to have some funds or something diverted to just put a bag station with a trash can, in that area that nothing's really growing anyways on that previous slide. We go back to that previous slide real quick.
Dead. Huh?
Yeah, there's nothing there. No, it doesn't get watered. It doesn't really get mowed. It's just a kind of an ugly area that's now got, 20 pounds, 30 pounds of dog poop throughout there. I can only imagine what the kids going to school must think, but what do you guys think I can do about that?
Good evening, Jeremiah Reichert, Public Works Director. So I think there's a couple things that we can do. I can't guarantee any immediate action, but the question about putting up a station with trash bags and then having a receptacle are great. The question we have to answer ourselves is who's going to manage that. And so what kind of routing would that take? So my recommendation is, at least initially, is to put a little bit more, eyes and ears on the ground and try and pay attention to it a little bit more closely through code, and start that process. And then as that's occurring, then maybe working with the community, the school, and figuring out, are there ways that we can kind of collaborate with this to see if there's a solution. The only, I wouldn't call it necessarily a concern, but something that we have to keep in mind is, so if we start that practice here, then we have to start looking at other, and how big does this grow? And so that would be something that I just want to be mindful of, but I certainly understand the experience here, and we want to do something to clean it up. And I think the first part of that is to find out if we can truly hold people accountable. And I think having the eyes on the ground and looking at this a little more closely to see if we can start writing citations. But I think for an immediate action, we can also do some kind of posting and put a sign up and just say that, that we're monitoring this. And those are great measures. Just, I think maybe not having a permanent installment of something like that, because we all kind of get numb to signs after a while. So I think drawing some attention to it will go a long way. So that would be my recommendation at first. How do you feel about that, or do you have questions?
As a community member, can I just buy some signage and put it up and leave, like put it up in the public areas myself, or is it something that
I don't believe so. Yeah. Here's the thing. We feel like we could probably do some posting, and we'll manage that. And then keep some eyes, out there and paying attention to it a little bit more closely. And usually when somebody sees, that we're taking action, they take notice to that.
Yeah.
So, and that might be the first real, measure that we look at. And then long-term, if we did do some kind of a trash bag receptacle and a trash can, who would manage that?
Yeah.
So maybe we can work with the school or something like that.
And Councilmember Whitaker, the reason, if we started letting everybody put signs up in the right of way,
Yeah.
oh my,
I know.
right? So that you see why. So I tend to agree with Jeremiah on this, looking at an incremental type of approach and seeing what efforts work and what don't. And I also agree with him, hey, let's talk to the school too, because they might be seeing it other areas or things like that, and they might want to partner on some. All right, let's get 2 or 3 dog poop bag stations along the way over there, and partner with them on that, whatever it might be. And they might say, yeah, we'll have a can that their folks will empty or something along those lines. So I think we can take some incremental steps, and just like you said, putting a sign up that says, hey, we're aware, the city's watching this now. Come on, folks, right? Yeah, because sometimes those areas turn into de facto little, right, poop areas, and people always take their dogs, and
we can put some signage up that really displays that we're paying attention to this. And like I said, we'll take those down after a certain amount of time goes by. I know with other agencies, I've seen that this becomes a bigger problem in the wintertime.
And so when you're getting snow and those sorts of things and, you know, people struggle to pick it up or it's just cold, there's a plethora of probably excuses for them. But then it all melts and now you're left with, you know, basically what you're seeing.
Minefield, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So, you can help out with some signage
Yep.
in the short term and maybe some just code enforcement
Yep.
dropping through there. You could see, I mean, in that, Rig, when you put that picture back up of the area where I am proposing we have a waste station.
I think the first step, you know, like I said,
So keep going.
we're gonna go there and look at it and assess about
Yes.
cleaning it up,
Mhm.
and then seeing what, you know, if it's really bad,
Yeah.
if there's something that we can do. But I think really just getting code out there to look at it, making
Mhm.
sure that people see that presence.
Yeah.
Um,
There was those mattresses and stuff too that you know, code enforcement coming through there that I'm sure they could figure out what to do with those. They've been there a couple weeks too.
okay. I'll make sure that we get on that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yep.
While you're up here,
Oh.
before you go, it reminded me of something that I was going to contact you about, but since we're both
Okay.
here,
Okay.
before you came on, we had a trash receptacle up at the intersection, might call it by Golden Corral, where you're coming off of 285 and getting on Santa Fe to go south.
Okay.
Because we have panhandlers out there most of the day and
Yep.
it just accumulates everywhere. So Randy had agreed to put one there. Seemed like it was going well, then it just kind of vanished.
Okay.
So that's maybe something else you can put your mind to, you know, what can we do
Yep.
with that area? Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll put a note on that. And if it sounds like if we did have something there,
Yeah.
we'll just put something back if it's been
Yeah,
taken.
because I mean, they seem to use it, you know, the trash can got filled up. It wasn't just scattered then, you know?
Okay. Yeah. All right. Absolutely. I'll take a look at that and see what we can do.
Thanks.
I just had one other thing, and I just am so appreciative that within 2 weeks, there's a sign on that Oxford median again.
Yep.
It's so nice to see that because it just scares the heck out of me when I come
Yep.
across
And
it.
we're taking another deeper dive on that. I'm going to look at it more from a traffic engineering perspective, and assessing if there's something else that we can do long term. I was very fortunate that Colorado Barricade came out and they donated that product to kind of help us and then for us to also kind of demonstrate some of their offerings and the products that they have to offer the city. So it was a win-win.
It's so great to see that responsiveness. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Jeremiah.
absolutely.
Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything for this week?
Can I answer that?
Matt,
Oh,
go ahead. I am just gonna let you know something. Hang on.
I just want to give you a date, Councilman Whitaker. I looked at the email and it's Tuesday, March 11th is the date there. You said they're going to be out to
Awesome.
install the clock. So
Cool.
hopefully that does not change. We'll keep you posted if it does.
Big thing.
Yeah.
Long time coming.
It's March 11th.
Go ahead, Jenna. So you had something?
I'm just gonna let you know, Madam Mayor, that Mayor Pro Tem Kelly has joined us remotely and did have his hand up to speak.
Okay, go ahead. Councilmember Kelly.
Oh, no, I didn't have nothing to say. I just was trying to get Jenna's attention because,
Oh,
you know, I can't write in the chat or anything like that. So
yeah.
I had to sit here and listen to Jay talk about dog poop and whatnot.
You
Other
came
than
for
that,
the best part. Came for
yeah,
the
I
best
came
part of the
came at
meeting.
the best, came at the best part. I'm sorry I couldn't be there tonight, guys. I know you guys miss me very
Mhm.
much. I miss you guys, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'll try to make sure that, you know, I don't miss any other meetings or anything.
No worries. We excused you already, so you're good.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you. I love you, Ernie.
Okay, one last chance for council members. Anything else? No? Okay, we have time for public comment. 2 minutes per person, not to exceed 20 minutes if there's anyone who'd like to speak to council tonight. I don't see anyone. So I think we're good. We'll adjourn our meeting at 7:42 p.m. Thank you all.
I think it's all suburban area. They handle all that.
Yeah.